All right, so Rennie, I just gave them the class that you were in on last week. So I'm just going to kind of go through just the comp selection part of things. So CMAsnap was built on field expertise. I started contacting realtors immediately 10 years ago. We started working on this. I have 4 appraisers on my advisory board, and we focus on using data-informed adjustments, making them clear and concise, and making the kind of adjustments that'll stand up, to scrutiny, right? And we've tested it all over, all over the place. We've tested it in 8 different markets now, and so far, it's working pretty dang good, all right? So I always go through this through every class, but I just want to make sure everybody understands that CMAsnap generates a comparative market analysis and not an appraisal. It's not the same as an opinion of value in an appraisal developed by a licensed appraiser on the uniform standards of professional appraisal practice, and it's supposed to be prepared by a licensed realtor for the benefit of customers to determine a potential listing or sale price on a property, and CMAs cannot be used for lending, tax, or legal purposes. Okay, so my disclaimer now is out of the way. So let's talk about comps, right? So the reason that they matter is that any CMA that you run is only as good and credible as the comps that you pick, right? And if you pick the good, decent comps, then you have clear, defensible pricing, and you can use it to negotiate with the other side, the realtor on the other side. You can use it to contest appraisals. You can use it to help people protest their taxes, right? And if you use poor comps, then it's just not going to be good for anybody. And if you show them to an appraiser, they're just going to laugh you out of the room. Okay. So the key concept is that the North Star for choosing comps is the principle of substitution, right? Principle of substitution says that a buyer won't pay more for a property than they pay for an equally desirable property. And the way I put it is, if you're happy with this one, are you going to be happy with that one? Right? And if you are, then you probably don't need to make an adjustment or anything, and that's fine. But if you're not, then you either need to make some adjustments or you need to go find a different comp, right? So if you are a listing agent and this is your subject property, do not pick this as your comp. And if you're a buyer's agent and this is the property that you're thinking about putting an offer in, don't try to tell the listing agent that this is one of the comps that you're using to justify your offer price. The things that make a good comp are proximity. They need to be close, and they need to be in a similar or certainly at least a competitive area. They should ideally be closed in the last 6 months. Sometimes that doesn't work out, but you always try to find the freshest comps that you can, right? And physical similarity. You want them to be pretty close to the same. I've heard agents say, oh, it's got to be within 5% of square footage. Well, that's not right. An appraiser will go as far as they have to, but they're trying to stay, certainly inside of 20% of the square footage, for example. And we also like to try to bracket things, right? So one bigger, one smaller, one older, one newer, that kind of thing. Making sure that it's, an arm's length transaction is important, right? Because you don't know if you use something that's off market and it wasn't exposed to the normal market, you never know, right? I could have sold my house to my brother-in-law for $100,000 less in the market, because he's a good guy and I felt sorry for him, right? You don't want to use REOs or distress sales, right? Because those are, those things have detrimental qualities to them, and they don't represent an open market. Okay. So our comps page is lined up to where there's a map on the side that's collapsible, and we make it super easy for you to go and review and change comps if you like, right? You can evaluate it from the pins on the map. You could actually click on the listing and look at the entire listing, or you can just click on the pictures and just evaluate the pictures. And then you want to funnel your search, right? We do this for you. I mean, if you go into the MLS or if you go into some of the other CMA programs, you have to tell it how big of a funnel, right? You have to set a parameter of, year built and square footage and bedrooms, bathrooms, and lot size and all that stuff. But we do all that stuff for you. And then we filter out the obvious outliers, right? And then we rank them by similarity on the back end. You guys don't see how we rank them, but on the back end, we rank them by similarity. And, those are the ones that we try to pick in the automated valuation portion of the program. But we make it super, simple for you to go and change them if they're not the right ones, right? And really the other thing too is you don't need more than 3, 4, or 5 comps, right? I've seen people that, I've seen people that say, well, I need 14. No, you don't need 14. You need the 3 that are the best, right? That's what an appraiser, you never see an appraisal that's got 14 comps in it. You see appraisals that have 3 or 4 or 5. And then they'll have 1 or 2 of the actives or pendings just to show that there is a demand and there's an active market out there, right? And just remember that quality over quantity. Okay. Proximity, all of these headers on the CMAsnap comps page are sortable, right? So you want distance, you want recency, right? And then you want similarity. Okay. Just a quick nod to UsePap. If you're analyzing comparable sales data that are available to indicate a conclusion value, then you're doing the right thing. If you start going and pulling off-market comps and start, basing pricing on other things that are active, for example, I've seen people try to do that, or, oh yeah, we're going to base our pricing on, this pending over here. Well, you don't know what the close price is unless you call the other agent and they tell you. And I do that sometimes, actually. But the other thing is to remember that we're not appraisers, man. We are trying to get a buyer or a seller to sign on the line that is dotted. Okay, we're trying to get them the best visibility on value that we absolutely can, right? But we're not basing it on full-blown, multi-paired paired sales analysis, and there's a lot of things that appraisers do that we don't really need to do, right? What we need to do is we need to arrive at a reasonable price and then see if we can get that reasonable price exposed to the broader market and see where we sit, right? The biggest mistake that I see people make is cherry picking. They'll go in there. When you go into evaluation, you're not supposed to have a preconceived notion of value, right? You're supposed to let the comps do the talking, right? And a lot of people will go in and they'll just go, I want the highest sold price per square foot. First of all, sold price per square foot is not a good way to value property. And if you ask any appraiser, they'll tell you the same thing. And then the second thing is that you're beginning with the end in mind, which you really don't want to do, right? And then, like I said before, using expired or off-market listings, an appraiser is only going to use an off-market listing if he can verify that number one, that there are actual closing documents and the transaction did close at the sales price that you're using. But even then, unless you can prove that it satisfies arm's length and open market requirements, they're not going to use it, right? So just be real careful about doing that. And then the other thing is, ignoring, like I said, REOs or, sold it to my brother-in-law, that kind of thing. It's just a recipe for inaccuracy. And then the last thing is that it's always a good idea to, to keep your records, to cite your source and show your math. We do all that stuff for you. All you got to do is go into your dashboard, pull up the old report, or if you're one of those kind of people that likes to keep their dashboard fairly clean, and I can certainly understand that, print out a PDF of it, print a physical copy or a PDF and put it in your file. And that way, when you go back, and somebody asks if you did your price diligence, you can show it to them. The biggest takeaways I think that you guys should keep in mind are the principle of substitution. Always, right? And that is, if I'm happy with this, am I going to be happy with that over there, right? Not overloading too many comps. Loading up your client with a whole bunch of different comps to look at is just a bad idea, and it creates a lot of confusion, and don't do that, right? So yeah, I mean, we do all of those things for you, but we make it easy if the machine misses one. And so then the last thing I would say is that be sure you go to the resource center, and you can see videos and you can see introductions to, different concepts and pull up old videos and stuff like that, right? So let's hop into the app here. Rennie, what's the address of your listing appointment?
4701
Uh-huh.
Crescent Square
How do you
Street.
spell it? A crescent?
Crescent. Square. Separate.
Crescent Square. Crescent
Yep.
Square in Raleigh?
Yep.
All right, cool. All right. So, has it ever been listed?
No.
You started from a tax record, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna look at that pretty close to the lake. Okay. Okay, so give me a little help here. So it's 2,486 square feet, built in 22. Does it have a basement?
No, no basement, 2-car garage.
All right, two-car
Um,
garage. Right, lot size, all that's good.
three,
Two-story pool,
3 bedrooms.
3 bedrooms. We actually don't really sort on that, but that's
Oh,
fine.
and then it's two full baths and a half bath, so 2.5.
Perfect. Okay, excellent. All right. When you start from a tax record, sometimes you got to fill some stuff out. Doesn't take long though. All right, we're gonna click submit. Okay, so before this thing spits out, what's your list price gonna be?
Uh, I haven't met with her yet, but
So what are
525,
you thinking?
525, 520.
Okay. All right. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna zero in on the map. Those are all pretty much in this right neighborhood. I don't have any complaints on that. This one here, comp number one, looks like it might be on a premium lot.
It
Uh,
is. It's a nice spot.
okay, so is it golf course or is that a green belt or
Oh, well, oh no, no. It just has more yard and that was the one where it sold in one day, but they had paused it before it was listed previously at a higher price. And I think they paused it and then relisted it and it sold in one day.
okay, so the first thing that I mean, not the first thing I want to tell you, but the one really important thing I want to tell you is look at the pictures, man. Don't just take for granted what the system tells you, right? Be the realtor. You got to be the local expert. That's you, right? All right, so let's take a look at this thing. Only one with a fence. Nice floors. I like those kind of floors. Quartz in the kitchen. That's all good. All right. Okay. Do you know what kind of shape your house is in?
No, I haven't
Preston Square. You haven't set foot in it at all.
at all.
All
Yeah,
right. So it
it's a
was
tough
built
one.
along the same time as all these things. It's probably about the same. All right. So let's go look at the second one. All right. Similar house. Detached garage with a separate quarters. Is that detached? Okay, got a
Hers is
screened-in
not
porch.
detached. Hers is attached.
Oh, I see how it is. Okay. All right. All right. So we definitely have a screened-in porch. Does yours have a screened-in porch?
I don't know.
Okay, so if it does not have a screened-in porch, to go into the adjustments modal and go down here and go to covered patio and deck, and that's where you put the screened-in porch.
Okay.
All right. And so, all right, so let's go look at comp number three. All right. Corner lot, fire hydrant in the front yard. When you're 8 years old, that's a premium, and when you're 60, that's a detriment. All right.
I think they all have screened-in porches, though.
Do they?
I think.
I love a good screened-in porch.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one has a little bit lower finish to it. It looks to me like the first comp did. And that might explain the lower sales price. So that's 494 as a okay. So this is a great example. Okay, so watch this. Everybody pay attention to the finishes in this house. Okay. Um, that's an okay. So these are the things that I look at as a broker. Okay. Um, this is builder grade, right? You can tell one of the things that I look for is that transition right there. Um, that's a builder grade floor, right? Carpet in the bedrooms. That's builder grade. That bat shower backsplash thing, that's plastic. All right. And then the kitchen's open and it's got ports, but it's not, it's not all knocked out, right? And then decent backsplash. Okay, that's all fine. Okay. All right, same deal, builder grade, builder grade. Okay, so now I'm not going to get into the adjustments part of things, okay? But if you just as a demonstration, look at the difference between that house and this one, right? That looks like it's got more style to me. The floors look nicer. That actually looks like a better piece of quartz. And me see if I can get the transition here. Where are the bedrooms? No bedrooms in this house. Everybody sleeps in the okay. All right. See, hard. No, it's got carpet in the bedrooms too. Okay, hold on. Yeah, I mean, it's a decent comp. It's just got a little bit more style to it. That's probably why it sold. I mean,
Yeah.
it's an upgraded bathroom though,
Mm-hmm.
right?
It's
I mean, look
backyard.
at that. That shower, that's a custom shower. That's not a builder grade shower, right? So I think that this one is a little bit, look at the size of those closets. Oh my gosh. My
Yeah.
wife would go ape in that closet.
And the backyard is bigger too. Yeah.
And the what?
It has a backyard. The other house doesn't have a
Right.
backyard.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So those are the things that you got to watch out for. I'm not going to get into the adjustment parts of things. I'm just looking at evaluating one comp versus the other. Okay. So you can see, that you go through here and you can evaluate everything from there. You can evaluate things from the map. But what I'm going to do is, so let's if you click on this filters button, this will tell you that we only are looking at sales in the last 2 months, and we only went out a half a mile, and we're looking at properties within 25% of square footage and built within 15 years. Okay. You can change any of this. Okay. And so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go demonstrate the following. Okay. So you see this Beckham Street right here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Doesn't have a bookmark on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So watch this. So if I click on what's bookmarked, it's going to filter out everything that's not bookmarked or is selected, right? So if I tag that with a flag now, then I can go back and look at it later. Okay, so that's the first thing. So if you want to save things for evaluation, put a bookmark next to them. Okay. Then the second thing is you can look at stuff from the pins on the map, right? You can either view the listing or look at the pictures. And then the other thing is that this map is collapsible. Okay, so you can click on that green stripe and the map goes away, and then you have a lot more columns to be able to sort. And we go all the way out here, and these columns are all sortable, right? So if you click on this columns button right here, let's say that subdivision was a big deal to you and you wanted that in your purview. If we have the map open, you can't see subdivision right now, right? But if we move it, right, where to go? Hold on, subdivision. If I drag it over here, now subdivision is going to be in my purview, and I'll be able to see. Let me get back over here. Hold on. There we go. And then I'll be able to see it when I got the map up, right? So that's the first thing is you can sort these columns in any way you want. I like to have sold date on the far left because I always want to see what the most recent comps were, right? And so you collapse the map, and you move the columns around, okay? And so then if there's something else in here, I like to use the elementary school as the next widest funnel outside of subdivision because that's usually this next smallest funnel after subdivision, and then you got a bigger funnel for junior highs and bigger funnels for high school, right? So if you're trying to narrow down areas, there's been no sales whatsoever in your subdivision, then you can do that, right? And then, for example, let's say that you're trying to narrow something else down, right? Let's say that you're looking for only stuff that's in the Wake County schools, right? So you go in here and go Wake County, and then it filters out everything that doesn't have that in there, right? So you can filter things out. You can do it with house numbers. You can do it with MLS numbers. You can do it with streets or whatever. Okay. Okay. So look at the map. All right. We're going to zero in on the map. Okay. So now we're only looking back 2 months. So what we might want to do is go over here, click on the snapshot. All right. This market is very, very stable. Okay. And I can tell that it's very, very stable because of this, right? The median sales price this entire year has been right on the money right here. Right. So you can go back and look at older comps if there's some better older comps. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and I'm going to go, let's see what all is in 12 months. So I go back 12 months, then, all right, there we go. Okay. So now let's do this again here. We were at 2 months. Okay. Those are the comps that we had that sold in the last 2 months. And you can evaluate any of these from the pins. Or you can go out and find some more comps, right? And so now we have a whole bunch more comps that we can look at. There's one that's closer that sold for 570. If we're going back that far, I still would tend to sort by sold date, and get the closest ones. And one of the things that I actually do is, man, I'll go in here and erase the report, right? Just click on this clear selected comps, right? And then for fast evaluations, I'll probably keep it within, let's try to keep it within half a mile here. For fast evaluations, I would go, I want the 3 most recent, bam, bam, bam. Okay, based on the 3 most recent, I'm at 535. Okay, so if I go over here and I sort by distance, okay, and I want the 3 closest, bam, 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 I'm at 503. So there's something lower. Look at that one that sold for 450. I want to know why, right? Well, it's way smaller and it's looked like this is the redheaded stepchild of this neighborhood, it looks like. It's got nice finishes, but it's small. So I'd want to know about that, right? I may not use it, right? If I take it out, 450, then I'm back in the zone that I wanted to be in. And then I can go into the next one and go, oh yeah, I'm back, right? So you can do all kinds of stuff. And so I tend to look at things, like I said, I want to know what the most recent ones are. I want to know what the closest ones are. And here's a little tip. So I'm going to sort by square foot. Okay. So if I scroll down and start seeing these little green arrows, that's the next biggest property, right? So if I want to see the ones that are closest in square footage, right, I'm going to similarity. I'm killing that, right? And then I'm going to go down here and there's the next smallest and the next biggest. And then the next smallest after that, I'm at 511, right? Or if I go the next smallest, next biggest, and the next biggest one after that, then I'm at 499. So that's an economy of scale thing right there. But anyway, you can see how you can slice and dice and you can sort and you can search and you can change parameters. You can go back and evaluate the market by clicking on that, and you can see a full market condition report and you can see what the range of comps are doing. Every time you open one of these things up, you got to click it again to close it, right? And then you can change all your parameters. That's basically how we select comps in CMAsnap.